My name is Merlin Marr-Johnson. I am the CEO of Fitzroy Minerals. We published a news release on the 2nd of December and put out an accompanying new presentation, which I'm going to go through now for you here. So this is the front page. We are exploring for copper, and crucially, we are finding copper. All of the photographs here are from Buen Retiro. This is some of the recent sulfides that we're intersecting, and these are a range of the oxide and various minerals that we think will go into the Heap leach project. Right, various forward-looking statements and disclaimers. We've got a market capitalization of around $103 million Canadian, so about $70 million US, and we are really focused on our Buen Retiro flagship asset, which we believe has got major discovery potential. We are in Chile, which is the copper country, and there are significant advantages of being in Chile. And we've also got this partnership with Pucobre, who are, we think, the best-in-class Chilean operator, and I'll come on to that a bit later. Buen Retiro is at low elevation with superb infrastructure around it, and it's a really good place for a project. And it's located in an area of Chile which is called the Punta del Cobre, or the area of copper, where there has been a lot of production in the past, and there will be a lot of production in the future. There's the flagship asset of Lundin mining, Candelaria there. You've got the flagship asset of Capstone copper called Manto Verde, and there's a new deposit called La Farola, all of which we've got the same geology that we can see of all of those three deposits within Buen Retiro. Right, so Buen Retiro is a great an asset, we think, and I'll explain that more. There we have started a PEA, and we are working on terms with Pucobre to do a heap leach joint venture. That operation gives us the potential for near-term, non-operated cash flow, which we think will distinguish us from many, many other explorers in the market. And then in addition to that operational aspect, or that operational side of Buen Retiro, there's certainly lots of exploration upside, both at Buen Retiro and at Caballos, which is now the second asset. Right, it's worth looking at 200 years of innovation and mining in Chile, because it's an extraordinary country. There has been copper mining in Chile, and in fact, in the 19th century, Chile became the largest producer of copper in the world. It started quite early on, but by the late 19th century, it was the largest producer as the British mines started declining. And then, interestingly, a lot of that was based around Copiapó. So it was kind of the Atacama area. And Copiapó is only 800 kilometers north of Chile. And it was only in the Pacific War from 1879 to 1883 that actually that whole northern territory of Chile, so 1,400 kilometers from Copiapó up to Arica, the border with Peru, was added to, or in that war, is added to Chile. Then, of course, various mining developments in globally, but crucially in Chile, there was the nationalization of copper and the creation of Codelco in 1971. The denationalization of the copper industry under the Pinochet regime in 1980. And since then, it's been stable constitution and stable mining law. In fact, basically the mining law has remained largely unchanged since 1980. And then they had this extraordinary growth of copper production from Chile, where from about 1980, it went from 1 million tons up to 5 million tons of annual production. And the country continues to develop new techniques. So they are, it's leading the way in block caving, it's leading the way in chloride leaching for heap leach projects and advanced recovery techniques. So now one can recover, one can leach in a heap leach chalcopyrite, which is a secondary sulfide. One can leach native copper, which is pure metal. Sticking on Chile, it really is important to recognize that it is a proper mining country. There is a political shift to the right. The new candidate cast is kind of talking and acting like a president already, and the Congress and the Chamber of Deputies are already run by the centre right. Under the socialist Boric government, there have been some reforms and constitutional amendments. Principally, There's been an increase in royalty rates if you produce more than 50,000 tons of fine copper. There's been an increase in holding concessions as if you don't invest in exploration. So there is now increased turnover of ground. And it's worth mentioning that there's still no change to the fact that if you produce less than 10,000 tons of fine copper per annum, you don't pay a royalty. And in the course of this year, there was actually license reform pro-business, which wasn't part of the mining code. It was just more part of the general let's get things moving within Chile. So they're trying to simplify the permitting process there. Right. Chile is still by far the largest copper producer in the world. It's kind of 5.4 million tons of copper on an annual basis, which is ICSG 2024 data. Congo, huge growth in the Congo. Obviously, you've got to deal with a lot of that growth has been funded by China. There is a degree of instability in the east. Some might call it war, but I expect that there's going to be more growth coming out of the Congo. Peru is been knocked into third place, and some various comments on the considerations that one needs to take into account when operating in those jurisdictions. But just as a reminder of how much copper means to Chile, it's 61% of the export figures. I took these numbers from the UN Comtrade database. The second largest is fruit and nuts. That's basically cherries, 9% of exports. Then there's various industries. And when you have to come right down to lithium, is actually 2.9% of exports. So it's tiny relative to copper. In fact, everything else is tiny relative to copper. And wine and pisco's around 2%, and other mining, that's iron and gold and silver, is there at 1%. So it's basically a copper story in Chile. But production growth within Chile, and in fact globally, is difficult. This is a very mature industry. It's struggling to maintain production. How do I know this? Well, you go to the BHP, the world's largest copper producer, and you go to their reports. They say that in Escondida, they're going to spend approximately $5 billion, and the production profile in 2030 is likely to be 1 million tons per annum. That's down 20%, maybe even 30% from where they are today. BHP in the same report from August 2025 say that there's going to be zero growth from Chile in 2031 to 2040. And on a site visit presentation from November last year, they noted that the capital intensity of new projects is rising. So, and also that the greenfields and the brownfield capital intensity are merging. So greenfield stays expensive, but it's actually brownfield has got more and more expensive. And that is a function of increased complexity, increased volumes as grades decline, and increased depths as the big projects are being mined deeper and deeper and deeper. So all of this goes to show that copper prices have to materially re-rate. Looking at the Cachilco report, this is the Chilean Copper Commission 2025 report published earlier this year, looking at projects between 2024 to 2033. They estimate that $83 billion is going to come into Chile. Over 75% of that goes into copper projects. They estimate that in 2024, it's 5.43 million tons of copper produced from Chile, which is a quarter of the global total, 24%, and it's going to increase to 5.5 million tons, which is actually going to be 27% of the global total. So it's only an increase of about 100,000 tons after spending over 50 or 60 billion dollars, and that's going to increase its proportion within the kind of global copper production totals. So, I mean, it's totally nuts. Vast amounts of money going just to maintain production. So metal prices have to rise as demand is strong. So it's not just me. There are many other houses and groups who are forecasting a copper crunch, which is going to come as demand for electrification drives and data centers and EVs and all of that drives demand. So the coming crunch is actually driving value in existing companies, and you can see that in companies like Capstone Copper and Lundin Mining. And these are companies which have got great assets, and they can cut through declining real copper prices. Why do I call it that? Well, if you look at the copper price divided by the gold price, you can see that real copper price in real money has actually been on a 25-year downturn. So we come to Capstone and Lundin mining. Why are these relevant to us? Why are they relevant to Fitzroy? Well, the answer is that the flagship asset for Capstone is Manto Verde in the Copiapó region, and Capstone own 70% of it, and Lundin Mining own 80% of Candelaria, which is also in the Punta del Cobre district. Now, Capstone Copper market capitalization 9 billion, Lundin Mining 22 billion. Our market capitalization 100 million Canadian. So, what have they got? They've got almost 600 million tons of measured and indicated at 0.46% copper, 0.1 gram gold. And in Candelaria, it's 0.47% copper and 0.11 grams per ton gold. Again, 600 million tons in all sulfides, reserves proven and probable. When it comes to the oxides, Capstone has mined out most of the high-grade stuff, and they're left with 457 million tons at 0.29%. So they're struggling to find more oxides. They'll be really hungry for that. And at Candelaria, there's 592 million tons in an open pit at 0.37% copper, 0.09 grams per ton gold. And so that's kind of, if we can find some shallow stuff, a few 100 million tons at 0.35 to 0.4% copper at around 0.1 grams gold, we are in business here at Fitzroy Minerals. Their 5-year forecast, 135,000 tons per annum copper plus gold. From Candelaria to 145,000 tons per annum copper plus gold. And these are both figures are on a 100% basis for the operation, not attributable to their own company. Right. So why do I bang on about Manto Verde and why do I bang on about Candelaria? And the answer is Fleet Space Technologies just did a site visit. Gilberto, our COO, has just been on that site visit. He was able to take photographs of core from Manto Verde and from Candelaria, and he was able to say, wow, they've got that, we've got this. And so what we've got here is all of the photographs of core from Manto Verde showing hematite stockwork, and we've got the same. Coarse chalcopyrite, we've got coarse chalcopyrite. Hematite breccia with chalcopyrite, hematite breccia with chalcopyrite. Calcite specularite chalcopyrite, and we've got the same. Now, this is interesting because this is a late stage style of mineralization. Capstone Copper Manto Verde operation has just delineated kind of about 50 million tons of this style of mineralization, which is about to go into production. It's an extension of the Manto Rosso ore body, but it's dedicated to this, which is a low temperature, late stage overprint or upper portion of an IOCG. And we've hit exactly that kind of stuff, but we hit it 2.5 kilometers away in with an RC hole that was just doing kind of some regional test work on some mag on a geophysical target. Now, at Manto Verde, they say that this kind of mineralization is on a northeast orientation, and our intersection was on a geophysical anomaly, which is 800 meters long with a northeast orientation. So we're super stoked about that. This is really interesting. It's a new style of mineralization. We got a kind of a 40 meter or 36 meter intersection, including 5 meters at 1.33%. It's under quite a lot of cover, but in terms of highlighting the potential of the area and the excitement at Buen Retiro, this was kind of a blind discovery. Really exciting. So super stoked about that. Oh, interestingly, La Farola, which is the other deposit I mentioned right at the beginning, Candelaria, Manto Verde, La Farola, they are starting a new production on this style of mineralization near Candelaria. They've got permission for a 90,000 ton per annum copper in concentrate operation to run for 15 years. So that is a heck of a lot of contained copper. I think it's about 1.5 million tons. Right. And then we move to Candelaria. And again, the top row is Candelaria rocks. The bottom row is Buen Retiro rocks. They've got upper Punta del Cobre formation with chalcopyrite veinlets. We've got the same. They've got a fine tuff here with chalcopyrite stringers. We've got it in a fine andesite. We've got disseminated chalcopyrite. We haven't got the stringers. They've got upper Punta del Cobre formation with chalcopyrite stringers. We've got the same chalcopyrite stringers and blebs here and stringers through here. They've got upper Punta del Cobre formation just with kind of general chalcopyrite. We've got general chalcopyrite. They've got albertite zones. We've got albertite zones. They've got hornfelds. We've got hornfelds. They've got massive chalcopyrite. We haven't actually found massive, but we have got semi-massive. And just as a reminder, these are the first 4 drill holes that we put into the sulfides. So these are what we reported holds 40, 41, 42 in that news release from the 2nd of December. So this is just literally, we've just put 4 holes in, 3 holes. Well, actually, we've done hole 43 as well, but so we've done 3 or 4 holes, and we've opened up with exactly the same style of mineralization. It couldn't be more exciting. And just remind you that Candelaria drives a $22 billion value for Lundin, and Manto Verde drives a $9 billion valuation for Capstone. Now, obviously, they're in production and they've got other assets, but still, those are flagship assets for a company, and we think we have got very, very similar looking rocks. Well, you can see that we've got very similar looking rocks. So we're going to be driving this company towards this kind of discovery potential. Right. Buen Retiro is several projects in one. These are concessions that we've got here. This is an old historical mine that was operated by Pucobre, and they trucked ore to Punta del Cobre up here, which is an SXEW plant. And there's Candelaria, and Manto Verde is off to the north, and La Farola is in here somewhere. And here's Copiapó. This is the Pan American Highway. There's the coast, 35 kilometers away. Copiapó E has got permission to extract seawater and dispose of brines. Now we can potentially truck water in from Copiapó E, and there's also a possibility to do some kind of recycling of water between the electro wind plant and our proposed heap leach SX plant down here. So we're looking at doing a heap leach joint venture with Pucobre, who are a proven partner. And as I've mentioned, there are various infrastructure advantages. This would give us non-operated cash flow and a very, very low capital intensity. This is a low-cost operation to bring into production. We think we can do it super quickly. And then on top of that, we have got this Candelaria-style geology. We've got the Manto Verde-style geology, and we've got the La Farola-style geology. Super, super exciting. Pucobre, the company, is actually named after Punta del Cobre, the area around Copiapó. It was founded in the late 80s, and Planta del Cobre, which is this area here, has been in continuous operation since 1992. And it's operating at a fraction of its capacity utilization. So it can produce 800 tons per month, and we think that we may be able to structure a deal where we get close to 80 or 90% of this using Buen Retiro material. So we're looking at maybe kind of attributable production of hopefully somewhere in the region of 10 million pounds of copper per annum attributable to Fitzroy coming through this plant and the mine operated by Pucobre. Now, if we can get $1 or $2 margin on that, that's significant cash flow, which is attributable to us. These pad areas, these are on-off dynamic pads, which means that you can do all of the test work. We can do our metallurgical bulk sampling here. We can do anything from a 500 ton to 2,500 ton test sample here. We can do our column test work in this building here. They've got columns anything between 1.5 to 10 meter height columns. And we'll actually have our heap leach at the site, so we won't need to use these on-off dynamic pads, but they will continue to process some of their own material through here as well. But it's a hugely exciting opportunity, and I've been up to this plant 2 or 3 times, and I speak to their metallurgists. We're in regular contact with the company, and hopefully we'll be able to show the market some more detail around numbers and the structure of the deal during the course of 2026. Right. So the plan is that PEA is going to be focused on the shallow mineralization, and in particular, it's going to be on the shallow mineralization in the southwest area down here. We have picked up shallow mineralization in the south area and in the pit area, and a little bit in the north area, and over here, central and east. But this is where the starter pit is going to be, and this is where we're going to do the PEA. We've got enough continuity of mineralization here. We've got 1,400 meters, but we'll probably just kind of do a simple pit through the first 800 meters, and we'll be wrapping. The plan is to try and work up a resource so that we can put that into a PEA during the course of 2026. We're looking at infill drill patterns through here, as well as continuing to explore and de-risk oxides in other areas. And we're now adding on sulfide holes. So this was hole 40, which went through 60 odd meters of oxides before it went into sulfides. This is hole 41, and this is hole 42, and we're just stepping north to hole to fill up this trend. In hole 3 at the bottom, this was where we hit 21 meters at 0.4% copper and 0.1 grams gold in sulfides. Now, each of these 3 holes has had intersections of disseminated chalcopyrites for over 149 meters. So we're pretty stoked about that, and I look forward to bringing results from those sulfide holes and others as we go ahead. But I don't want to downplay the oxides, because remember that we've had some pretty good holes in the oxides through here, including 135 meters at 0.373% copper and 110 meters at almost 2% copper. What's particularly interesting is that with the electro wind plant fixed at its kind of throughput capacity, we've got no problems about scale. We just know that this is what we're going to have this. We're going to have this plant to fill, and then we'll be able to work out the number of years that we can fill it through the de-risking and the resource work that we do on this. So, but the plan would be that we'd get to the plan would be that we'd get to at least 8 years, possibly 10 years, possibly more. But those are hopes and aspirations. Right, and meanwhile, underneath, we've got this huge sulfide target. We're just off the north of this pit here. We've put the first 3 holes into this IP anomaly, and it seems to be correlating with sulfides. And just for scale, this is 3 kilometers, and that's about 2 kilometers across here. So we've got lots to get after on the sulfides. Right, moving forwards. We've got $11 million in cash. We've got some warrant premiums that's going to come through here. So we've got about, let's call it $16 million of firepower. Our share price is going in the right direction. Crux investor, Ptolemy Capital, that's Matt Gordon. He's buying shares in the market, hasn't sold any and doesn't want to. I've asked him a couple of times whether he'd be willing to sell a block of shares to an institution, and he has said no. We've got funds and institutions on the register, and onwards and upwards. The plan for the next 12 months is to put more effort into Buen Retiro than into Caballos. We will be doing geophysics on Caballos, and we will be coming to phase 2 work and probably drilling on Caballos. But there's just so much exciting stuff happening at Buen Retiro that we cannot ignore it. So we've got infill, sterilization, geotech, and metallurgy to do. We've got the maiden mineral resource estimate to work on, engineering, baseline studies, and hopefully have a completed PEA by the end of next year. Incidentally, we'll be in the Q2 or Q3, we'll be putting in the declaration of impact, the statement of environmental impact, with an effort to get the environmental permit, hopefully within 12 months, in the same way that Marimaca got their license within 12 months for the Marimaca oxide deposit. So that would hopefully mean that we're permitted in the middle of 2027. It's probably a 6-month build, and then hopefully into production late 27 or early 2028. Meanwhile, on the sulfides, we'll be doing geophysics and more drilling. So it's go, go, go. Right, let's not forget Caballos. I'm very aware that the results that we put out yesterday, which was for holes 2A, holes 5, 3, and well, we didn't get any assays from hole 4 because it was aborted. I'm very aware that the grades were not as good as the first hole, which was a real zinger. We need to do geophysics over this whole area. We're drilling at the moment, both in Mule Hill and in Chincolco. We're putting in holes through here and through here, and we're moving on in Mule Hill. We're quite encouraged by what we're seeing, but let's see what the results give because we haven't got any more results back. So as soon as we've got some results, we will publish them, and we will probably fly all of this doing MMT to have a good look at the architecture of the subsurface. Very good. So $11 million in the kitty. We've got another 5 or so coming from the option and warrant premium as they get exercised. G&A, exploration budget, non-core spin out, leave a bit of money in the treasury. Then we're getting after it. We're at Buen Retiro, going for the PEA for the Heap Leach joint venture, and we're exploring the sulfides underneath. Caballos, over the course of the next 12 months, will continue to test the scale and the grade potential of this system. Good. I think I'll probably just wrap it up there. If you want to look into the presentation, which is online on our webpage, you can have a look at our the option terms, the rest of our team. Oh, I will say that Craig Parry has joined, which is a huge result for us. He's been behind Skeena Resources, ISO Energy, Next Gen Energy. He's behind Inventor Capital, and of course he's the chairman of Vizsla Copper and Vizsla Silver as well. So what a guy. And he's a shareholder. He's invested twice in this company, once at 15 cents, once at 30 cents, and he continues to support us and the work that we're doing. And he thinks, when he looks at the photographs and the geology, that we're onto 2 really interesting projects. So it's not just me. Right, exploring for copper, finding for copper. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.